And so please describe to me what the aesthetic look is exactly.
Well, like this guy here.
Yeah. So we'll go ahead and bring
Oh wow, you really have to come in here?
like this guy.
Is this
No,
is this really happening? He met the other guy behind you, bro. Like I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm right into that bad boy.
You can stay right there, behind the camera, behind the camera. No, see now you got me jealous now.
That's okay.
That's not
no,
fair.
but you're more in the category like Luther Rector Arnold. Okay?
My man. Yeah. Arnold Ferrigno. Huh?
Okay.
Aesthetic. That's great, partner. You two ever go out place everything in its proper place?
That does not make sense, but we usually do go. We head to Kroger's, and we work.
Oh, yeah. I've got a lady waiting for me back home also. She has the most beautiful scrotum. oh God! And when she sings, she sounds just like a puppy dog. How do you nail a photo?
Just gotta get in the mode. You gotta talk with your eyes.
Talk with your eyes.
Talk with your eyes. You
Okay,
gotta
so
have the eyes
can you show me a little bit of something, like to this camera? I would love to know how to do this. I just want to know.
Well,
how do you do it? Teach me
smile,
something.
You can get the sexy eyes. Then you gotta get the smile. Smile going on some shoes, but
Wait, hold up.
I gotta
try
when it's
this
time,
with
when
you.
it's
Hold
time
on.
to laugh,
I gotta try this
you gotta
with
think
you.
of something funny
All
and start laughing.
Do it again. Do it again. How do you do it? Teach me.
Sexy eyes.
The sexy eye.
Just a sexy eye right here.
Smizing?
Smile.
So you're smizing.
Smile.
Okay.
And then you gotta get the.
No, I look like I need to take a poop or something.
Each words were like little toy guns. No sting, no hurt, no one, just a bang, bang. Right?
Is that it?
Yeah, it's something like that. Just a bang,
Toy
bang,
guns.
rolling off your tongue.
Toy guns.
It's no smoke, no
Bang, bang.
bullets.
Water guns. All right.
Pascal, you are now rocking with that dude Pascal. We be going wild, Haitian in the building, so original. Got the haters catching feelings. Get your hands up to the ceiling and keep them held high, cause St. Louis isn't ready. Forget about it, goodbye. Hold on, we just saying hi. Five somebody, rise up. Weekdays, catch us live, somebody. Let's go.
Everybody, and welcome to the Pascal Show. What's up, everybody? I hope you guys are all doing well out there in the social media world. I hope you guys are all enjoying your Tuesday. Yes, today for a lot of y'all, it was the first day back from all this craziness. You know, 4th of July and enjoying your time off and all that stuff. But we are back at it again, back in the work week. We just got done with day one of our very short work week, which is nice. It's a day less, so it's shorter. Technically, it's shorter, y'all. So you should be excited and happy about that. You know what I'm saying? We walking into hump day, by the way. Hump day. So I'm very excited about it, okay? That means we're that much closer to what? The weekend, y'all. Yeah. And I'm very excited about it. But anyway, we don't have a whole lot of time. We only have a solid hour to knock this whole thing out. And we got quite the juicy show for you guys today. Quite the controversial conversation we are going to have here today, this evening. And I'm very excited about it because, well, you see right underneath the video right here, Marc Lamont had a conversation with Judge Joe Brown, and it was interesting. He had this conversation with them right after the news about Bill Cosby being set free, being emancipated, okay, having his charges dropped. Judge Joe Brown had quite a bit to say, and this is a very interesting conversation and a very interesting interview. It wasn't even really an interview. It was more like a bunch of words being thrown back and forth, to be really honest. It was actually kind of a debate, to be really honest. And we got to see it with our own two eyes, because I think it would be better, because I was going to do a video by itself, like, you know, to sit there and go through it. But I was just like, you know what? No. This might be better if I got the fam around, because I want to hear your thoughts. I want to read your comments, etc. This is important, y'all. This is a very important conversation. But before we jump into it, my brother T is in the house. What's a guan, bruh? Good to see you, man. Still muted. Good to see you, my brother.
How's it going, everybody?
There you go.
Different background tonight, but I'm ready for a good debate, a conversation, and discussion with Marc Lamont Hill and the infamous, very prestigious, old school, not biting your tongue, the great Judge Joe Brown.
Yes. I mean, okay, let's just say this. Some will say the great Judge Joe Brown, and some may not. Let's just say that. Is that fair to say? Is that fair to say, T? Yes. Thumbs up. He's got his thing on mute, and he doesn't have any of his equipment today. Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
No, I'm good. Go ahead.
Okay. He doesn't have his equipment right now, so he's just doing everything manually. He's doing this stuff off of an iPad, if I'm correct. You know what I mean? I don't know how. I'm not one to travel with an iPad, so I'm surprised that you do. But hey, good on you. I appreciate you doing what you're doing right now, okay? For jumping on at the last minute. We weren't planning on doing a show this evening. And then I said, you know what? Hey, I was supposed to do a show, an interview on another platform, on another show. That got canceled. So I was like, you know what? I got time to kill. Let's get on here and let's chop it up. Let's get into this story. So let's get into it, shall we? Now, the thing is that there's quite a bit to talk about right here, okay? In my personal opinion, this is kind of like old school meets new school, okay? And the only way I can explain it is if we actually watch the video. Now, let me explain. Marc Lamont is a known commentator. He's on the political forefront of things. He's a liberal black commentator. Okay, I think I like him. I'm a fan of him. Some people call him many different things. Okay, obviously there are people out here that have their own specific opinions about things. You know what I'm saying? About commentators. You know what I'm saying? But with this particular guy, Marc Lamont Hill, I'm a fan of him. I think he's a very talented dude, and I think he's going places for real. Okay? Then you got Judge Joe Brown. Okay, if you don't know who Judge Joe Brown is, Judge Joe Brown, as you hear in the name, he is a judge. He has been a judge for a very long time, to the point where he had his own hit TV show called Judge Joe Brown. Okay? So he's been out here talking all kinds of stuff. He has very, very polarizing opinions about things that have gone on in the world. Like, he's been under fire for his comments about George Floyd, etc. Just a bunch of different things. So, of course, when you have Marc Lamont Hill and Judge Joe Brown in the same room at the same time, you got the new school, Hill, with the old school, Brown. You know it's going to be a very, very interesting conversation. So, we got to jump into this and take a look at it for our own selves and hear what these guys have to say in this interview. Like I said, it's a very interesting one. Let's take a look, shall we? Let's get it.
Welcome back to Black News Tonight. We are here talking once again about the case of Bill Cosby. As you know, he was released to most people's surprise yesterday, walking out of a Pennsylvania state prison because of a very interesting development in his case. And yesterday, many celebrities chimed in on social media. One of TV's most well-known judges, Judge Joe Brown, was one of those people who called out the way that mainstream media had been covering the story. Hours ago, he tweeted, and to be clear, much of this was in response to something I wrote, but he said, anyone who was knowledgeable of American law would have expected and predicted the outcome of the Cosby appeal. Mainstream media in Hollywood incite public disorder by lying to the people about the law and encouraging mob rule.
So you already know, I'm just going to say this, I don't mean to cut it up, but I have to, because you know what I'm saying, because the powers that be and everything, you know what I'm saying, and we don't want to get this thing knocked off, but let's keep it real. You already know a dead giveaway. It is a dead giveaway on what we are about to walk into. That was a dead giveaway. There's foreshadowing up in this piece. My brothers and sisters, okay? So you just heard in a tweet what Judge Joe Brown thinks about this whole situation. Let's continue.
Hollywood reacts to Bill Cosby release with shock. Here to discuss his recent comments, joining me now is Judge Joe Brown. Judge, thank you for joining me. Why do you say that mainstream media encourages mob rule?
I've talked to 43 lawyers around the country, 17 judges, and I haven't found one that was shocked by the verdict. Most saw the same thing that I did from day one. This never should have gone to trial. It's a travesty. It's a violation of due process and American law. It is part of this mess that mainstream media is trying to feed into the heads of the citizenry and poison them by saying that their emotions and their feelings are supposed to have paramountcy over what happens within the law. That's not the way it goes. I get people who never even took what they should have gotten in the 4th and 5th grade get to talking about how somebody going to disprove what these women accuse Dr. Cosby of. And the truth of the matter is you don't have to. They have to prove that what they claim is true, not the other way around. That's American law. I see too much of this. Show up on the courthouse, voice your opinion, and get the courts to yield to what you believe. That's not the way the law works. That's called mob rule, mob justice. And if you want a more egregious exemplar, take what happened to Emmett Till and every other black man that's been lynched in the history of this country because somebody got emotional and decided to suborn the law, go around it, and do what their emotions drove them to do.
He just pulled out the Emmett Till, y'all. Just saying. What he said so far, he ain't wrong. What he said so far, he ain't wrong. I just want to point that out. Now, there's a lot to see. This is a big interview, okay? So we're going to talk about this stuff, all right? So before you jump and throw any hate towards me, hold on, because I'm not sitting here saying that I'm Team Lamont Hill or Team Joe Brown. I am listening to this whole thing, but what he just spouted right now are facts, are full-on facts. The only difference between Emmett Till and Bill Cosby right now is age. So far. Let's continue.
So that is the way things ought to be. Law separates us from the animals, and we can't have this disregard of the law. I want to commend this Howard Dean for being forthright enough to speak out on what the reality is, and I would suggest that they need to strengthen the breadth requirements at Howard University so I don't see such ignorance coming out of this profoundly historic black university. My father went there way back in the 40s.
Well, Judge, there's two things going on at once, though, Judge.
That I have heard come out of that place lately. And if anybody
so, Judge, I think there's two things happening at once.
Justice, they ought to.
So, Judge, I think there's two things happening at once here. And I think, on the one hand, many of us are legitimately aware, and myself included, that the criminal legal system doesn't give equal outcomes to everybody, that black folk catch the worst end of this, that black men, when it comes to incarceration, get the absolute worst end of this. And the Bill Cosby case is an example of a prosecutor who was dishonest. Bill Cosby, absolutely, if he's told that you won't be prosecuted for giving this deposition and then he gets prosecuted, that is a violation of his rights and that is a violation of due process.
Facts.
On the other hand,
due process.
But on the right, but hold on, just let me finish this point, Judge.
On going forward should be disciplined.
So there's that, but then there's the other question that people. So then there's this other question that people, though, have, Judge, which is a legal question. Which is not a legal question. I think those two things, to some extent, are getting mixed up. And the non-legal question is about whether or not Bill Cosby actually did harm. Legally, you can say he's not guilty because the not guilty stands.
He didn't do anything. American law, there is an absolute presumption of innocence until you are proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, using due process of law. If there was no due process of law, that presumption of innocence does not remove itself and there is no valid conviction. If there is no valid conviction, that presumption of innocence stands as a rock.
Now, what is very interesting is, obviously Judge Joe Brown knows his law. All right. He knows the law. And that is very, very true. We do live in a world right now where as soon as somebody gets a finger pointed at them, they're guilty until proven innocent. And even when they are proven innocent, they are still considered guilty. Now, and I think that's what his argument is. He's going within his argument where he says Hollywood and media like to chop it up and screw it. Smack it up, flip it and rub it down and completely give you a completely different story to what is actually going on. Because we all out here are so fiending for information. We're fiending for the controversy. We're fiending for the stories, right? So that as soon as we get those stories, we already have come up with our own assumptions on that person that has been accused. So now, when you're going out there in the general public, Bill Cosby or any other person that has had a finger pointed at them, automatically is they're bad. Automatically, they're losing their jobs. They're instantly canceled. They're losing their endorsements if they have those things, etc. Losing their shows. Shoot, everything almost to the part of losing the shirt on their back because of how media and Hollywood can, like I said, chop it up and screw it and automatically make the person look like they're guilty before they even get a chance to prove otherwise. T, what are your thoughts on that, real quick?
Well, I'm just thinking about, this is what Lady Justice just said, which is great in the chat. She said there's a difference between someone being legally wrong and someone being morally wrong.
Right.
And I believe that's a great point, because a lot of us like to, voice our emotional and our moral opinions on things. And we have to think about in trial and in U.S. courts, there's a system that's been put in place, and it has to be followed. So all we have is evidence in front of us, and if the evidence is pointing to a conviction, then a person is guilty, and if not, they're not guilty. And that's typically how it works. And sometimes there's some margin of error, depending on some facts and some other things. But in this case, what Judge Joe Brown is saying is that factually, or through the legalities of this, Bill Cosby is still innocent until proven guilty. And in his eyes, based off evidence that he's actually researched, Bill Cosby is innocent. Right. Now, morally, was Bill Cosby involved in some things that were not okay? That's something that we all can judge.
Facts.
Well, you can't hold him admissible in court based off how we feel about morals.
No, and I absolutely sorry. I thought there was more that you were going to say more. But yes, no, I absolutely agree. I think that when it comes to legal and moral, those obviously are not the same thing. Clearly, they're not the same thing, but they are. That's why, in the public, morally speaking, he's going to be thrown under the bus, right? He might be proven innocent, or these charges will be dropped because of some sort of technicality or because of some corruption that happens within the prosecution or within the prosecutor's office. That obviously is a big play here. That's a big point here. Doesn't mean that he's not guilty of doing what he did. He's admitted during his depositions, being cross-examined, he has admitted to doing certain things, having possession of certain things. Now, does that automatically mean that he's guilty? Does that prove his guilty, him being guilty, or does that prove him being innocent? That's the other question. But the reason why he is out is because of a technicality. Real talk. I know that's very, very boiling it down, but let's be real. It's over a technicality. It is not him being proven innocent at all. It's not proving him guilty either. So now we got a guy who's out here, and they say they might be taking it up to the Supreme Court, like I've said in the last time we talked about him being released, and having his charges dropped. Hopefully they're going to come in with solidifying, like, solid enough evidence for him to either be fully vindicated or be fully guilty. That's what we're gonna have to wait on. But I understand what Judge Joe Brown is saying with his point here, though. You see, because on a moral sense, now since Lady Justice and T have said it so beautifully, now that we have those categories, when it comes to legal or moral, we have now, as far in the, let's just say, in the world that in the general public, on a moral sense, he is instantly thrown in under the bus as being guilty. So he will always have this hanging over his head. The damage is done. He will never be free. His life, his career has been tarnished just on all of these accusations. And they're multiple, guys. Multiple. But let's continue here.
For the defendant, it is to keep the government from acting in a dishonest fashion and using its powers for persecution. So Dr. Cosby
so I think we're on the same page with that.
Found guilty through due process. He hasn't done anything. So under American law, the accusations are just that. They carry no weight other than accusations, and they must be proven using due process beyond a reasonable doubt. If they have not been, then they are essentially worthless, just so much talk. That's
so I think we're on the same page. So I think we're on the same page with regard to the law. I think part of the challenge, and I sent out a tweet last night that you responded to. I'm going to pull it up. It says, I said, Bill Cosby is not innocent. He has not been exonerated. His release means that Cosby, a sexual predator, was incarcerated within a criminal legal system that has as little regard for its own rules and procedures as does Cosby for his victims. And you responded. You said,
he hasn't had any. Law is a baseless accusation. It has no weight.
So under the law, I think we're on the same page again. But part of the problem,
This in the 4th and 5th grade, not law school. American law means when somebody makes an accusation, that's all it is. It has no weight. If there's probable cause, you have somebody answer the complaint. But if you cannot find someone guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, they have done nothing. They walk out of there with their presumption of innocence intact. How clear can that be? There is nothing to answer.
I think that
he had a right to remain
I think that part
silent.
is clear. No, I think that part's clear, Judge. Let me move the conversation forward.
The proving his guilt.
See, the one thing that sucks about video chats is this this situation that's happening right here, where let's be real. Judge Joe Brown is going to stick his ground. He's going to keep talking. Marc Lamont, I wish he would just put his foot down and say, "Hey, let me just ask this question really quick, sir. Let's move on." You see what I'm saying? But welcome to technology and video chats. This is the downfall. This is the con of video chats.
It did not. So he stands.
Right. So I guess Right. So what I want to do is just move the conversation up a little bit. I think you and I agree that legally he's not guilty, that legally he doesn't have any burden of proof. The state does, and it hasn't met that. Legally, his rights were violated. We're on the same page about that. I'm saying the legal question to me is rock solid. But I think what was happening yesterday was people were conflating those two things. They were acting as if because the state didn't meet its burden and because he was released based on the fact that he didn't get due process or his due process rights were violated, that was somehow proof of the belief that many people had that Cosby was actually not just legally not guilty, but actually didn't do anything at the moral and ethical level. And hold on one second. I just want to place.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, no, hold on. Let me place the question to you. So I guess what I'm saying is, can we hold space for two ideas at the same time? Can someone, under the eyes of the law, be completely not guilty, and at the same time, can we have a public conversation? Because I know you talk about culture, you talk about our community, you talk about values. Can we also talk about the fact that someone can be doing great harm and even be a predator at the same time that legally they're all the things you just said?
No. Because the law presumes them innocent until you prove them guilty. It is a specious thing. That's part of this new paradigm where everybody gets a trophy, a participation ribbon. Nobody's feelings get hurt. Freedom of speech gets restricted if somebody feels uncomfortable or undelighted by what is being said. That's not our reality.
So let me ask you a question. When George Zimmerman killed Trayvon Martin and the jury found him not guilty, do you feel that the black community should not have continued to express outrage and call George Zimmerman a killer because under the law he was innocent?
They should express outrage with themselves for lacking such political influence in the selection of the district attorney or in the even weight assigned to them. See, the rules are the same. But from my perspective, I think of all the black folk that have called me over the last 35 of jury service, all of the black folk that voted a handout where you've got a racist idiot on that handout for judge and they don't even pay attention to who's on the ballot. I think of all of the black folk who don't go out and vote for sheriff or effectively for mayor or for the district attorney and complain about it. See, when you have an opportunity to do something about it, do it. And see, most of the people that are off in the penitentiaries are not in there for playing Robin Hood. They rob from their neighbors, burglarize their neighbors, kill their neighbors, rape their neighbors, sold poison to their neighbors. And the other thing is, it's not guns. It's not any excuse. It's we have got a lack of manhood and masculinity in our neighborhoods.
Okay. Wow. Let.
That's true, though.
He is speaking facts right there on that part. I do agree with this, but hold on. We gotta. Let me just. Okay.
See, masculinity is the imposition of a set of behavioral standards on a boy. So when the boy grows into a man, he has some things he has to do that he cannot get away with, that he is compelled to look to, making where he lives a better, safer, more secure place filled with economic prosperity, sense of purpose, morality, and ethics. He is a man of public peace, dignity, and order, who is a man of peace, who can be a brave and courageous man when necessary.
I'm just going to let that soak. Let that marinate in your plums, all the way down to your plums, fellas. Fellas. And for those who need to hear this, he ain't wrong.
See, we have to start
Judge,
taking
let me
our
pause you for a
neighborhoods
minute.
back.
We're going to take a... Judge, I want to hear more about that, Judge. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to take a quick break and bring it right back. I'm going to put you on some of the things as well.
On.
Stay with me. We got more Black News Tonight coming up right after this.
He's like, this light work, y'all. This light work. I don't know what you talking about. This light work. Oh, my God. Hold up. We got a little,
Never able to find a bra that fits me.
Oh, God. I've never found a bra I could ever fit into, too. I feel your pain. But he's like, man, this light work. What are you talking about? This light work. What you talking about? The F you mean? All right, so there's more. There's obviously more. We got to jump into it. Let's go. But he did really just drop some serious knowledge right there. Like I said, this is old school versus new school. I'm just saying that because the way that we as men now in this society think are completely different in comparison to the way that men think, like how men were thinking back in the day. This is old school versus new school, y'all. This is why I keep saying it over and over and over again. And I'm going to keep saying it until I'm blue in the face. But we got to, let's continue. Let's continue. Because this conversation is much deeper than just Bill Cosby. He just opened up a whole new can of worms in that realm. Let's continue. You cool with that, T?
Let's do it.
Let's go.
Welcome back to Black News Tonight. We're talking Bill Cosby and the aftermath of his case. I'm here with Judge Joe Brown. Judge, again, early in the conversation, we sort of stipulated to the legal parts of this, and we both agree that everyone deserves the right to due process, and no one should be sitting in prison or jail for something that they either didn't do or if their rights are violated, or both. But you've also raised this interesting question that I think is worth unpacking a bit, and that's about ethics and morality within the black community and holding each other accountable and talking about manhood and masculinity. If we, again, assuming Bill Cosby doesn't take the legal stuff off the table, if we look at the depositions, the very thing that got him ultimately, the thing that ultimately got him locked up, and those depositions, and he's talking about the various women he had sex with giving them alcohol and pills, whether it's Quaaludes or Benadryl. If you look at the dozens of women who come forward and accuse him, is there room to say, look, Bill Cosby can come home because the prosecutor was wrong, but Bill Cosby also has to be accountable for what he represents and for acts of and for predator-like behavior?
What about these women being accountable for their own behavior? They were groupies. Well, sex, drugs, rock and roll, sex, drugs, rap, sex, drugs, baseball, football, basketball, movies, television.
And I'm going to be honest. What he's saying here, yes, it's crass. Yes, it's very curt. Yes, it's very much all up in your damn face and blunt. But he ain't wrong with this. Maybe he doesn't need to call the girls what he's calling them and what he later on calls them. but he ain't wrong. And the funny thing is this still happens to this day. There are still women and men now that run around, groupies, hoping for a little love, hoping to get impregnated by a famous baseball player or or athlete or star. He ain't wrong with this. It may be a little curt, but he ain't wrong.
See,
yeah, but right now I'm talking about Bill Cosby. I'm saying
we forgot what that term meant: sex, drugs, rock and roll. The bimbos come to the party, they hang out, they get drunk, they snort lines of blow, and they have a good time. They use the hall closets to give head, the bathrooms to get down, and you go in to get your coat off of the bed, and they're laying on top of it doing somebody.
You know for a fact he talking about it like he been there. Come on, guys.
That's too much.
It's a little much. It's a little much, but he talking like he been there. Like he's talking like this is burned in his memory. And he's seen people doing stuff. You see what I'm saying? He's seen, like they say, he says bimbos, you know what I'm saying? There's other names that are being used, thoughts and all this stuff. I mean, there are these things there are these people out here. And there's men and women versions of this nowadays. It has changed. It has migrated. Let's just say it has grown into something more. It's evolved. That's what I was trying to say. You see what I'm saying? Not the biggest fan of what he uses as words to describe these people, but outside of that, he is speaking 110%. From experience. Let's continue.
See, that's what that's about. So,
but Judge, it has to be consensual,
25,
though.
30, 40, 50 years after something was in big time style. When this stuff started out, the sexual revolution was going on. And a lot of women got into it deeply.
Okay, but so there's two things you raised. But first, let's talk about Bill Cosby. We can talk about the women, but let's talk about Bill Cosby. Let's talk about Bill Cosby for a second, because that's the person we're talking about. My question was, is there room to what did he do? Well, according to the deposition, he gave women pills, and in one deposition, he specifically said he didn't know whether.
Force it down their throat,
no, let me finish.
He didn't take advantage of them. Look at that interview Whoopi Goldberg did with that model Johnson. Whoopi got all on. Wait a minute. You're trying to tell me that
hold on, Judge. Let me ask the question.
He found out you were high, he called a cab, took the elevator down with you, put you in the cab, paid your fare, tipped the man, and sent you home because you were high? So what did he do?
So in one deposition, so Judge, in one deposition specifically, when he was asked the question, was he sure that the woman was sober enough to consent? He said, "I don't know." But there's a bigger question here: is if someone willingly takes pills and becomes high and drunk, can they legally consent?
Okay, this is where things get very hairy, okay? Because it's a very good question. But you got to remember, things were different back then. When he just said, it was free love. It was during that time of free love and all that stuff. You see what I'm saying? Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that things weren't consensual. I'm not going to sit there and say that, that all of it was consensual, right? But I will sit here and say that there's people out here that are during that time, which is kind of like, I don't know, how do I explain it? It's like the sexual wild, wild west where anything goes, right? It's free love. There's drugs, sex, etc. being thrown all over the place, right? Girls, guys, etc. excited to be around these celebrities and these names, having a grand old time. Some of them just want to have, Bill Cosby or some other people, other celebrities as notches on their bedpost. You see what I'm saying? Part of their bucket list, if you will. You know what I'm saying? Some of these people are like, okay, me and my man, you are my hall pass. I just wanted to bed you because you're my hall pass. Let's just say this, okay? Let's just say. So when you are going and you are hanging out, kicking it, doing whatever you want to do, exactly, notches on your belt, right? Another phrase for this, okay? Added person on your body count. You see what I'm saying? Headshot. But anyway, we're sitting there. We're in this time of free love where anything goes. It's the wild, wild west of sexual expression, right? You take these drugs, and at that time, you're down for it during that time. He is asking something that may be different, maybe the laws have changed, right? Obviously, things have changed since that time, right? So he's asking a very hairy question. And the way Judge Joe Brown responds, I think is pretty damn good. Let's take a listen.
Sometimes you can. Used to be you could. They had a change in there back 25 years ago when they were saying, no, you can't. But before that, basically, you could. That's why they told you.
So, but we're talking
stay
about the
sober.
law. So then, Judge, again, since you're saying we should appeal to the law, if the law says that you can't be
intoxication, where you did something to them they didn't consent to.
Roofied, for example.
See, that's when that law started changing from you got yourself drunk, you're responsible to know the bartender's responsible because he lets you get drunk. That's when that change started coming
Bill
about.
Cosby's admitting.
That's interesting.
Bill Cosby's admitting to giving women alcohol and pills for the purpose of having sex, and if by the law you can't consent if you're drunk or high.
You go out to dinner or you have a party or something. So
yeah,
does
but
that
that's
make
not the
them
same.
taken
That's irrelevant,
advantage
Judge.
of because they do something they would have done anyway? A whole lot of them I knew back in the years would
that's
take
sexual
drugs,
assault, Judge.
particularly Quaaludes. They did that a lot. I had a lot of female clients I had to get out of messes because they had a fondness for Quaaludes.
Quaaludes? Yeah. Did he just say Quaaludes? Quaaludes. Okay, y'all. Okay, let's continue. I'm sorry.
But
it's okay to take.
Don't you bear any responsibility for this, especially if you keep going back?
So, Judge, let me. I want to lay this out plainly, just so, and I'll give you a chance to respond. I'll even give you the last word. If you give someone drugs and alcohol, even if they want to take the drugs and alcohol, if they get to a point where they are inebriated, where they are high or drunk, you cannot have sex with them. It is not sex. It becomes rape. And even by the legal standard that you're saying we should appeal to,
that's only the law in certain states. It's not for every state. And it goes into the same philosophy. It goes into the same thing. I didn't know I was going to get that drunk, so it ain't my fault I got a DUI and killed somebody. How you think that's going to float?
Right, but the difference is...
I'm sorry. Judge Joe Brown, like, he was starting good, and then now it's kind of going off the rails, in my personal opinion. This is when it gets, like, blunt, and the whole I don't give an F kind of vibe is now coming into play even more. But this is... Let's just finish it out. Like I said, it just goes off the rails, y'all.
Plus, you have people on the East Coast who want a new category. The drunk person has a
responsibility not to get into the car.
It's called rape by
the drunk person does not have a responsibility not to give the responsibility.
And you decide to have a good meal, linen, candlelight, wine, dine. You go for a walk in the park, my place or yours. Get over there, kissy, kissy, poo, seduction, clothes come off. Everybody has a good time. This crowd wants that to be called
everybody isn't having a good time. One person's being assaulted. Right, but what I'm saying, Judge, and I got to run.
See, that's the point. He never admitted to what he did was accused of, which is
how many people in your court admitted to what they did
all
that were guilty?
All he did was they asked for it. I supplied it. They wanted it.
Okay,
that's like put some candles on and some incense when we do it. Let's go out and have a fine meal. Some Pinot Noir, some Cabernet Sauvignon
giving somebody,
to go with the prime rib and the lobster. And then we, after we leave the 5-star restaurant, we got a nice walk in the park.
This honestly is, with all due respect, is the most disturbing interview I've ever had in my life.
No, but see, you are
we're
into this thing where everybody's got to be protected. This society does not work when the society's obligation is to protect somebody from being stupid. You protect somebody's rights.
To protect somebody from being
to
raped, but we got to go,
their
Judge Joe Brown. We can have a conversation, but I got to run commercial break. I'm way past commercial break.
Just like you can't protect somebody from liability for killing someone in a fatal DUI because the bartender didn't stop serving them when they kept asking.
Unfortunately, I got to run. We're way past commercial break. I know you understand that.
Oh, my
Thank
God.
you for joining the show. Let us know what you're thinking. Hit us up on.
Okay, guys. There it is. There it is. I'm sorry. I don't mean to laugh because it is a very serious conversation. This is a very serious topic, but just how it went off the rails is something else. And I'm going to say this, you know what I mean? And I know a lot of people will not agree with what I would about to say right now, but shout out to Marc Lamont Hill for holding his own in that conversation, because that's difficult. That was I can only imagine how difficult that situation was for him, and him trying to have a conversation with him, trying to have a peaceful or like a insightful debate with Judge Joe Brown. But Judge Joe Brown at the end, bruh, he just went, you see what I'm saying? He just, it went off the rails, y'all. Now, I'm not going to sit here outside of him going off the rails. A lot of what Judge Joe Brown said, he has a very strong point. But like I said, this is old school versus new school. This is old school versus new school. I think that Judge Joe Brown has an old-fashioned mentality of all this. Also, I'm sure he's biased because this is his friend. This is somebody he knows, Bill Cosby. He's probably, dabbled in some stuff himself in this whole thing, right? So when it comes to this, very interesting conversation. Wouldn't you say, T? Very, very interesting conversation. Can't hear you.
Yeah, I'm just... There's so much going on right now.
What an experience, right?
I'm just thinking, like, Judge Joe Brown was sipping on something, and then maybe it kicked in at the end of the... Because, it started off with the legal stance, which was valid. But towards the end, it seemed like he was reminiscing about how it was back in his times with Cosby, hanging out with the women. And if you're a man or a person of fame or you have a high pedigree, I'm pretty sure the women were flocking towards them. So it seems like he was just talking about, hey, this would we hung out, we had the money, we had the fame, we had the lifestyle, and these women knew what they were getting themselves into. So we all had drinks and drugs and hung out and we just had fun. So it just seems that, like, legally in the beginning, great Judge Joe Brown. Towards the end, went more on a turn out of left field on a moral, tip. But again, if the women consented, then it's all fair game. If they did not consent, it's pretty much rape. And the biggest thing is this: Marc Lamont Hill was trying to apply current day standards to what was going on 50 years ago. And that's not the same. That's why laws continue to be changed and updated and amended, because we tried to protect people who weren't protected in the past.
Right.
Happy with that. We'll see. I mean, look, Marc Lamont Hill, he's more on the liberal left side, and sometimes he's really going to pull out all stops to bring up an issue, and that's part of his job too. And
most definitely.
school, and he's going to tell you how it is. Sometimes maybe too much
Maybe.
how it is.
That was like red pill versus blue pill. You know what I'm saying? Just a little
If
bit.
we find somebody
Say that again.
legally with reasonable doubt, you have to prove something happened, then get guilty.
Right. And I think when it comes to this situation, for sure, I mean, here it is. I am not knocking any victim at all whatsoever. I'm not. I'm just posing this conversation and bringing up this video because it was just a very interesting to see the opposing sides. This is what the world is doing right now. What we saw in that conversation is exactly how the rest of the country or the rest of the world is reacting to the news. Some people are sitting there going, nah, free Bill. He didn't do anything. You know, those girls asked for that stuff. He had those things, just like some girl wanted to do a line of blow and then ended up having sex with him, et cetera, et cetera. So when it comes to this kind of situation, you have people on the other side going, wait a second, you know, maybe some of them are lying, but not all of them are lying. You know, you can't sit there and automatically throw all of them on, throw all the accusers under the bus, all the victims under the bus and say that they're all lying. That's insane, right? But, you know, at the same time, this is when it comes to a question that he posed, that Marc Lamont Hill did pose, which is, if you are doing some sort of recreational drug outside of alcohol, and this person has relations with you or entanglements with you, is it considered, will it still be thrown under the same category as rape? You know, would that be considered that or no? If, like, for example, let's just throw this conversation or let's just go this way, okay? Let's just say you're out, you're kicking it, you're doing your thing, you're as big as Bill Cosby, okay? You're out with some friends, you're hanging out, you got these girls, you know, that are hanging out, bunch of people, they're excited, oh, blah, blah, blah. And they say, oh, I got a little blow. Or you say, sorry, you know, I'm holding, you know, I got some for you, right? The girl that you're talking to, showing interest to you, gets excited about it, of course. You guys go and have some drinks, you do a couple lines, next thing you know, y'all are in the sheets having a grand old time. Then all of a sudden she goes, hey, no, what you just did was wrong because you gave me cocaine. Does that automatically make it justifiable then? Now, Jasmine said that is different. Maybe. But also, you got to remember, they were using Quaaludes as our as Judge Brown just said. They were using that like a recreational drug too. They were using it like it was, you know, they were using it like weed, coke, etc. They were using it there too. It's just a little bit harder to find, but they were using it. So, like I said, I am not at all sitting here trying to support anything of that sort. Because no matter what, I do believe that there are women there are a lot of victims. I do believe that there are victims of Bill Cosby. I believe that. I truly do. I don't think that there could be 60 women and say none? All of them are lying? That's just a little insane to me. But what Judge Joe Brown said is true. And he knows from firsthand experience. Listen to his description. His description sounded like he does this every day. You see what I'm saying? This ain't nothing. It's like every time he goes and hangs out with his boys, it's like a frat party. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, T, thoughts?
Well, again, it just seems like it's so hard for anyone in current times who is not, living back then at an age where those kind of parties, that kind of lifestyle was the norm. I mean, the 70s, Studio 61, what's it called? 51, I believe. 51 was popping.
54.
Disco era. It was no condoms wasn't a thing back then. So it was a lot of things were just different. Got it. 54. Thank you. And it's hard because morally you can look back and go, man, that's messed up. Most of us gonna say that, that's messed up. Y'all were doing what? But looking at it now, it's we have to find a way to get a time capsule from that time period and analyze it by today's standards. And it's just different. So it's really, really hard. And you think about Bill Cosby. I mean, how many women has he slept with?
Hundreds.
He probably doesn't even recall.
Right.
Half of the time what was going on. They all were getting high and quaaludes, and the women can come out forever and talk about this because I was a Bill Cosby in 1965. But do they know what happened to them? Was it consentful? Was it not consentful? Who knows? But I'm pretty sure they had a good time then. And if they didn't and they didn't speak up about it, they should have. They should have. I'm not sure how far it would have went because he was a celebrity, but why wait 30 years? That's my thing. If someone assaulted you 30 years ago, you should have stepped up. But again, you have the snowball effect. You have all these women coming out from the past with all these stories. And it's how do you know which ones are true, which ones are not true? How many women are in it for a meal ticket, for a civil suit, which was actually happening before the criminal suit. So it's tough because you can't really prove all these things are actually, happening the way they're saying it's happening. And it makes Bill Cosby, of course, look worse than what he is. And I'm sure everyone at that time was just partaking in the lifestyle. And society has changed, and now they have some maybe shame about it or some guilt about it. It's unfortunate for everybody. But this is what it is. And without legal, evidence, then Bill Cosby is going to walk.
Facts.
Continue to be free.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I mean, if there's no solid evidence, whatsoever, beautifully said, by the way, T, and I'm just piggybacking off what you said. So, you did all the heavy lifting. Thank you. But when it comes to this situation, they don't know, they don't have solid evidence right now. They basically went after his character rather than going after and leaning on the facts and leaning on the evidence. And that's what I'm saying. I'm speaking on that in that diplomatic way because we don't have the solid evidence. In my heart of hearts, I do believe that he is guilty of some things. I do believe that. I don't think all of them, but I do think some, right? But the only thing that's going to keep him out of prison is if there's no evidence, if no evidence surfaces at all. Now, you got to remember, too, we live in a different age now. We live in a completely different age. And the age that we live in now is we got cell phones, we got security cams, we got everything under the sun, social medias, etc. Okay? Back then, that didn't exist. Shoot, they didn't even, when he was getting around, running around and getting it, there weren't even voicemail back then. You know what I'm saying? There were just phones. I think they were so excited about the newfangled thing called a fax machine. You see what I'm saying? So, to me, if they don't have solid evidence, he's going to walk. Point blank. The way they walked and approached certain crimes like this that he's being accused of, multiple crimes that he's done, or multiple accusations of the same crime, okay? The way that they approached it back then is completely different from the way they approach it now. But all of it, like T just beautifully said a second ago, so 30, 40 some odd years ago, if not more. How can you prove a person guilty of something that they did 40 plus years ago if you don't have solid evidence? Then it's just hearsay. Then it's just them trying to defame your name, defamation of character. If you don't have positive, proper proof, then the man is going to walk. Just like any person, if this was a serial killer or anything of that sort, you would need, and this was somebody who was like burying bodies all over the place, blah, blah, blah. And they find the bodies, but they just point it all at that particular person. You need the evidence. Alicia Hill just said something beautifully. Lewinsky saved that dress. She saved the blue dress that had Bill Clinton's DNA on, that had proof. So if they're going to keep looking at it, and we're just talking about facts, forget anything about opinions of me and T. We're just talking about facts right now. And if they don't have any solid evidence, how can they throw him back in jail? Now, if they go up to Supreme Court, if it gets up to the Supreme Court and they try him, like I've said before in the last video that covered this story, they need to have solid 110% proof of wrongdoing. The people that are accusing him, these victims that are accusing him of doing said thing, need to come through and not change their stories, y'all. That also needs to stop as well. They need to come in with their proof, with their stories, and not keep switching it up. Those things are going to help. If anything, push him towards guilty and not have him walk. T, last words.
Yeah, so, I mean, I don't want, like, this is always a tricky topic, and I don't want people to think that we are in any way not taking the victim stories at face value. I think both parties, the women, some who claim to be victims, and Bill Cosby, who's being accused of these horrible crimes, look at it from a point of view of, like, I mean, it's so hard because we all have our own biases, but at no time are we ignoring the victim's claims as being as not truthful. But from what we know, there were different changes in their testimonies, different changes in their stories, and everything wasn't always consistent.
Yes.
So in terms of giving Bill Cosby a fair trial with due process, you have to weed out all kind of inconsistencies, and the women have to be proven to be valid, valid in their actual facts or truths. I mean, I know the DA had, the one who tried Cosby and eventually got him put into prison. I think he was a newer DA, if I'm not mistaken, and he had used some statements from Cosby's civil trial that was against a woman, and I don't think the evidence was permissible in a criminal trial. So I think he made it. That's why he got out. I think there was some kind of loophole in this case.
Pretty much technicality.
DA used unsubmissible evidence from the civil trial and the criminal trial, and that swayed the jury. You're swayed emotionally and morally about what you're hearing from. Right. So, in no way we're saying that he's not guilty, but we're saying to you that the evidence that's presented in this trial is not admissible to keep him in prison any longer.
Exactly. They did him dirty too.
So, again, the women have their right to tell their part. Bill Cosby has the right to also be innocent and to prove him guilty.
Yes, and the prosecution did him dirty too. Let's not forget that too. So here it is. You know, at the end of it, in no way, shape, or form am I trying to, and just to go off of what he said, in no way, shape, or form are we trying to say that victims are liars, that never believe a victim, etc. That is far from what we're saying right now. Like I said in the very beginning of this whole reaction video, is he got out on a technicality, y'all. That's what it is. So now, and also because of corruption, because of what was going on in the prosecutor's office, the corruption, he got away, he got out, he was freed because of technicality. So if this does go up to a Supreme Court, they are going to have to come correct. The prosecutors that they end up selecting, because hopefully those other prosecutors, that whole office, the whole law office, better be disbarred for their misconduct. But they're going to be bringing in a new one, I'm sure, right? And I'm hoping that they come in and they come in with solid evidence. The defense, I'm talking about the defense alone. They come in with solid evidence and they get the justice that they rightfully deserve. Unfortunately, this is all on a technicality. Real quick, I want to say a big thank you to the $10 super chat. I really do appreciate it. Real quick, I'm going to read that right quick. Sonny James says, you don't go into a man's house alone with said man at night thinking you're going to play Parcheesi. I'm so tired of believe all women. Took them years to come out. I'm sorry. And yes, some victims are liars. Okay. Here it is, Sonny James. Thank you so much for the $10 super chat. I really do appreciate it. Jay, the comedian, thank you so much for the $2 chat. I really do appreciate it as well. Thank you so much for giving us the love. I really do appreciate it. But with Sonny James, with what Sonny just said, yes, I do agree. Not all victims are telling the truth. That is very true. There have been people that have been vindicated, that have been proven innocent from people who have, that have cried wolf, right? Plenty of people have done that for sure. And yes, I don't understand at the same time why it took them years to come out, but we don't know the full scope of it. Maybe there was something, maybe some of these women tried to come out, but maybe Cosby was powerful enough to scare the life out of them. To make them stay quiet. We don't know the full scope of that side, right? But like I said, he did have relations with a lot of women, multiple, all right? He was Bill Cosby, all right? Some of these ladies, some of these victims do believe that they were taken advantage of unjustly. Somehow, by them coming together and doing a united front, it changed things as well. I was going to say Go ahead.
One thing.
Go ahead.
It was a violation of due process.
Yes. Absolutely. Oh, there it is. That's all he had to say. He just wanted to come in, say that line, and walk off. But yes, so it was a violation of due process as well. So like I said, thank you so much for the $10 super chat, Sonny James. I really do appreciate it. Yes, some people, there are a lot of liars out here in the world, okay? But when it comes to this conversation or when it comes to crimes like this, I like to hope and I like to lean on believing the victim. I lean on this person's it's got to be telling the truth until I see proof that they're lying. There are a lot of questionable things that are going on within this case. And like I said, only time will tell how this all goes down. He has been let go. His charges have been dropped, but it looks like it could go to the next level. And if it does go to that next level, hopefully we will get the full truth. And like I said, like I always say, the truth shall come to light. The truth shall always come to light. Just be rest assured, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Whether we want it to happen or not, the truth will come to light at some point. At some point. But anyway, I wanted to say a big thank you to T for being on with me, man. I really do appreciate you coming on and being on with this very difficult and controversial conversation. This stuff ain't easy. You know what I mean?
You're very welcome. We made it.
Yeah, we made it. We got through it. Woo! Woohoo! I'm very happy about it because, this one is, it's very thin ice. Very much thin ice. But I wanted to jump on and do this one because this was definitely a big conversation for sure. And like I said, Monica Daniels has said violation of due process, which is protected by the Constitution. Facts. But like I said, there are things that they can do to try him again within, by the Supreme Court. But like I said, they have to come in with hard evidence. In no way, shape, or form, by the way, in no way, shape, or form are we trying to knock any victim out there at all. Because there's a lot of survivors out there. A lot. And I have nothing but, we both have nothing but love and support for every single last one of all y'all survivors out there. You guys are resilient. You guys are amazing. But at the same time, this particular situation, it's tough. It's a tough one. Real talk. And I just look forward to having the truth really come out. I think that's what we need. I think that's what we're all looking for right now. Real talk. Sunny James, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. She said, love you, Pascal, and viewers don't hate on me for my opinion. Hey, you're entitled to your opinion. Just like I'm entitled to mine, just like everybody else who's commenting in the family chat, etc. Just like T, etc. This is why we come together. We have these conversations. We have these open conversations. We have the difficult conversations. So you're always welcome here to throw in your opposing ideas. Okay, guys? I love every single last one of y'all. Okay? For real, you guys are really, really amazing. Thank you so much for sitting through this with me. It does mean a lot. Hey, don't forget to hit that like button down below. That would be really appreciated. And for those of y'all who have not done it yet, hit that subscribe button, okay? I do this show. I do a morning show Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. And I do an evening show at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, okay? I'm going to try to be on tomorrow night. So be sure to tune in. Thursday, I will not be on unless something pops off. But I got some things coming up that I have to be prepared for, unfortunately. But anyway, please hit that like button. Just crush and destroy that subscribe button. That would be really appreciated. Appreciate the conversation. Thank you so much for watching this live reaction. More to come. I'll see you guys tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. Be good to yourselves. Be good to one another. I'll see you guys soon. This is The Pascal Show. Bye.
Homeowners and property managers, if you're looking for effective and humane ways to remove wild animals and deal with the damage that they have caused, we have good news for you. Introducing Wildlife Command Center, a professional nuisance wildlife management company specializing in providing animal removal for residential, industrial, and commercial clients. We are the only wildlife company that checks 70 different areas on a structure to determine the answers to the following questions. Exactly which animal are we dealing with? How is the animal getting inside the home? What kind of damage is the animal doing to the structure? Once we get the answers to all of these questions, we develop and write up an action plan to resolve the animal issue completely and provide a quote to implement that action plan. We perform a very in-depth 70-point wildlife inspection. From visually inspecting the highest point, the chimney, to physically crawling inside the attic space and looking for animals, chewed wires, fecal matter, chewed structural wood. We inspect everything. Our inspection process covers all of the following 70 points: animal-proof chimney cap, roof ridge vents, roof to soffit junctions, dormer fascia, attic gable vents, gutter lines, fascia trim, garage door, utility penetrations, water, gas, electric, and cable, bathroom vents, attic roof ridge vents, attic electrical, wiring, junctions, boxes, and lighting, concrete decks, additions, wooden crawl spaces, basement plumbing, penetrations, ceiling, floor, and wall. Wildlife Command Center's mission is to deliver the finest quality wildlife removal and pest control service that is safe for the environment. For more information, call us now.